I'm on a journey to win with the worst card in Pokemon TCG Pocket. But first we have to figure out which card to use. One of the best contenders I can think of is Magikarp. At 30 HP, this card can't even deal any damage. It just, jumps out of the active slot into the bench. When evaluating these cards though, we need to consider their potential. Magikarp, for example, can evolve into Gyarados EX, which is pretty insane. This makes Magikarp very valuable in certain decks. There have got to be cards that, even at their full potential, are just a complete detriment to the deck. As I scrolled through more sets, a decent option that stood out to me was this regular Moltres. Imagine taking 3 turns to get this Fire Chicken set up, all for it to flip tails and do nothing, then get immediately KO'd by Giratina. After consulting with our community in this short, we agreed that this is one of the strongest contenders for the worst card in the game. But I think maybe we could do better. As we look further, another option that stands out to me is Torterra. Stage 2 makes it difficult to use. This card also has a high energy cost to both attack and retreat. Then to top it all off, after you attack, you just do nothing on the following turn. This card does have decent HP though, and the one attack you actually do can pick up some KOs, so I don't think this is the worst card either. Then, out of nowhere, I was truly blinded by one of the worst cards I've ever set my eyes on. This Giratina requires dual energy to attack, which is automatically horrible. Then, once it finally manages to get an attack off, it loses 2 energy randomly. In a dual energy deck, it's completely random which energy you get per turn, so it's gonna feel extremely hard to even get 2 attacks off. Then when it attacks, it's not even picking up KOs on hardly any EX Pokemon, especially if they're caped. To top it all off, it's not even really that tanky, and a 3 energy retreat cost for this thing is diabolical. I honestly feel really strongly that this is the worst card in the entire game, but I had to put these 3 cards to the test and see what you, the viewers, thought. Lo and behold, in a community vote where 855 of you showed up to make sure your voice was heard, Giratina won with 73% of the vote. This is truly a remarkably horrible card. I wonder if it's even possible to win with it. And thus the Giratina challenge was born. This means to really test this card, all damage in our battles must come from Giratina. All matches have to be in random PvP, so you can't win against your friend in a private match. And you have to win with 3 points by Giratina KO, so concedes don't count. Some would say this is an impossible challenge criteria, so how are we supposed to build this deck? Well, for starters, we need 2 Giratina, that's pretty straightforward, and let's also set the deck to Grass and Psychic Energy. But to counter needing dual energy to attack, Leafeon is a great option. Using Forest Breath, Leafeon can place Grass Energy on Grass Pokemon. Giratina is a Dragon type though, which means Leafeon will have to place energy on itself, and then we can use Dawn to bring it up to Giratina. Finding cards to ramp Giratina is actually very difficult because Manaphy, for example, requires that you use water energy to do the attack to ramp the bench. Gardevoir can also ramp, but Gardevoir can only ramp to other Psychic type Pokemon. Then there's Leafeon, which is a great candidate because it has good HP to be able to tank hits. After we Forest Breath, it doesn't end our turn, so we're still able to do other things. And Grass is one of the energies that we need. So let's add 2 Leafeon and 2 Dawn, but to use Leafeon requires evolving from Eevee. Which Eevee we use here actually doesn't matter much because they're all pretty similar and we can only attack with Giratina anyway. But this Eevee knows Growl, which is interesting. We'll probably never use it in the spirit of the challenge, but growling and reducing incoming damage by 20 is actually okay according to the rules. Let's add 2 Eevees, then 2 Pokeballs to make finding our basics easier, 2 Professor's Research to help our draw speed, and then 1 Sabrina and 1 Cyrus to guarantee KOs after Giratina finally attacks. Now we're faced with a few weaknesses we need to consider. You see, building up Giratina will also require multiple turns of waiting for the right energy. So let's add Cape and Potion for a worst case scenario to stall, and also add 1 Erica to help stall if Leafeon's in the active slot. The only other glaring weakness at this point is that 3 energy retreat cost. So let's throw in 2 Leaf to drop the retreat down to 1, and then if we add 1 Shaman, Sky support means Giratina can always retreat with 1 Leaf and Leafeon can always retreat for free. This is the deck that will give us the best chance of winning this challenge. Our first attempt was against Mandel Massive, who's confident about flipping heads. We'll see about that, Mandel. Immediately I flip heads, which is actually not what we want, and we have an Eevee open, which could be good if we can ramp Giratina early with Leafeon, but our opponent is running a fighting deck, which is Eevee's weakness, and also has a Sudowoodo, which can immediately attack us for 1 energy. We pull a potion, which means Eevee is 100% eating a hit on this next turn, and our opponent adds a Skull Fossil and Riolu to the bench, then places energy on Sudowoodo and almost one-hit KOs us. On the following turn, we place energy on Eevee, but can't attack as it's not Giratina, and also for this first attempt, we're accidentally using the wrong Eevees. But we try to salvage this by potioning, then Sabrina-ing, but Riolu comes out, which would be a guaranteed 40 damage with our weakness, so we concede and attempt number 1 was a brutal failure. This challenge is gonna be, some would say, impossible. We would go on to have some attempts where we would get Giratina out and actually manage to pull our energy and maybe even pick up a single point. But for the most part, it was just loss after loss after loss. Then miraculously, only 10 attempts in, we matched up against random opponent Super Kitty 95, who likes Paldean Pokemon. In this battle, we flip heads and are going first. Our opening hand contains Eevee, Giratina, and Leafeon, while our opponent opens with a Mew EX and is running a Psychic deck. On our first turn, we pull Cyrus and end our turn. Our opponent then leaves, puts Abra on the bench, but then changes their mind and actually stays in to attach energy on Mew and attack for 20 damage. So we evolve to Leafeon, Forest Breath to give Leafeon free energy, and then place our Energy Zone's Leaf Energy on Giratina. Then we Sabrina to slow the damage, which forces Abra into the active slot, and we end our turn. Our opponent's turn is pretty simple, they just add energy to Mew and end their turn. We spawn with another Grass Energy, and we can see that Psychic Energy follows, meaning Giratina can attack very soon. We add Grass Energy to Giratina, and then Forest Breath to keep building up Leafeon for late game dawns. Our opponent's having pretty bad draw luck, and they yet again just add an energy to Mew and end their turn. We draw Pokeball, use it, and pull another Eevee. Then Psychic Energy goes on Giratina, and we Forest Breath yet again, bringing Leafeon to 3 Grass Energy. Then our opponent places Mewtwo on the bench, their Psychic Energy goes on Abra, and they use Teleport to bring Mew up to the active slot. On our next turn, we pull the other Giratina, but we decide to save the last spot for Shaman and go all in on 1 Giratina. We evolve Eevee to Leafeon, place Grass Energy on Giratina, and oh my goodness, where are our Psychic Energies at? Then we Forest Breath, sending Grass Energy to Leafeon, and make the most boneheaded play I've ever seen in my entire life. For some reason, we proceed to send up Giratina and attack for 120 damage, but Mischievous is placed on their bench along with energy, and Mew just genome hacks, obviously copying us, and picks up a free KO with 120 damage of its own. Watching this back, I have no idea what I was thinking. I promise I'm a Master Ball ranked player. Look, even the greatest chess player of all time, Magnus Carlsen, blunders. There is a silver lining here though, which is Mew drops itself back down to 1 energy. Anyway, on our next turn we Pokeball, which pulls Shaman, and we get blessed by the fact that our Energy Zone has Psychic Energy coming up next. We put Shaman on the bench, followed by Giratina, then Forest Breath to our active Leafeon, and our Grass from the Energy Zone goes on Giratina. At this point, we only have 7 cards left in our deck and still haven't pulled either Dawn, so the goal now is to get more Psychic Energy on Giratina for a late game sweep. Then our opponent evolves to Mismagius, look at this card by the way, wow, and they burn Mew's energy to bring Mismagius to the active slot. Mismagius attacks for 70 damage and also confuses Leafeon, but that's okay because we're only planning on attacking with Giratina. We pull Cape, place it on Giratina, and look at that beautiful Energy Zone. It's exactly what we need. We need to stall an extra turn though, so we Erica the Leafeon, place Psychic Energy on Giratina, Forest Breath our own Leafeon, and end our turn. Then our opponent's Sabrina's, which is pretty irrelevant because we can just put up our other Leafeon and they attack for 70 damage again. Then we pull Dawn and Energy Zone reveals back-to-back Psychic Energy again. This is actually doable now. Energy goes on Giratina, we Forest Breath, and then retreat, bringing Giratina to the active slot. But if our opponent has Cyrus, it's all over. We use Crisis Dive, and our random energy loss ends up being 1 Psychic and 1 Grass, which is huge. Then our opponent places energy on Abra, evolves to Kadabra, and tries to save Mismagius by swapping to Kadabra. Our Psychic Energy goes on Giratina, and we use Dawn to pull Grass Energy up from the Leafeon, and we decide to go for a KO on Kadabra, picking up 1 point. I'm not gonna lie, this screen right here is pretty rare for this deck. Crisis Dive randomly removes 1 Psychic Energy and 1 Grass Energy again, which means this is still possible as we are not losing 2 Psychic Energy at a time. Then our opponent sends out Mewtwo EX, Energy goes on Mewtwo, and they attack Giratina for 50 damage. Then we pull Dawn, which is insane, but at this point, Cyrus is the game-winning play, so we just add energy to Giratina and Professor's Research on this turn to prepare for the following turn. We pull Potion, use it, and end our turn preparing for the end game. If our opponent has Cyrus or Dawn here, the challenge is all over. Here's what happened. No Dawn, or Cyrus, no Dawn or Cyrus, no Dawn or Cyrus, no Dawn or Cyrus. Okay, I'm fine with that. He doesn't have Cyrus, Okay! Hold on, this is challenge completed right here. This is challenge completed. If my opponent doesn't concede, we win. Okay, let's take out the Mismagius. Everybody lock in. We gotta do this quick. Don't concede. Yes! The challenge is completed! Oh my goodness! Wow! This Giratina card is so bad and we made it happen. Oh, let's go, dude. Dude, nobody thought we were going to get that in 10 attempts. I saw 40 attempts. Wow. This challenge was crazy, but we're not done yet. If you like these videos, you're in luck because on this channel, we are constantly crushing insane Pokemon Pocket challenges. Like the video if you want to support the channel, and here's another crazy challenge if you want to see more. Bye-bye.